Can someone please tell these people to stop playing games like this? How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about a Canadian woman by the name of Carrie Bourassa, who has been fired from several roles, including a government gig, for being white. Now, before I get into it and the video, which I do have, let's back up a little bit here to explain what's going on. Now, Carrie Bourassa has been seen by many as an indigenous expert. A lot of the tribes up there in Canada, way up far, Northern America, she's an expert. As a matter of fact, she had a government gig. There's a really long title. I'll place that on the screen before you, but basically she was an indigenous expert with the government, and also her professorship gig in Saskatchewan, she's an indigenous expert and an epidemiologist. She's done TED Talks, all this, that, and the third, because people thought that she was Native. She was masquerading around as Morning Star Bear, all this, that, and the third. But then when the DNA test came out, it came back Czech, Slovak, Polish, Hungarian, basically Eastern European, not Native at all. So because of that, she's been fired and or suspended from several roles. And before I go any further, let's roll the clip. In this clip, you're going to see Carrie Bourassa and her Morningstar Bear outfit during the TED Talk. And after we get done watching that, I'll come back. I'll talk about what was said and done there. Then I'll give you my 2 cents and my deep detail analysis. And then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
In 2019, Carrie Bourassa took the stage to deliver a TEDx talk about her rags to riches story.
I'm just going to say I'm emotional.
Bourassa leads an Indigenous health research lab at the University of Saskatchewan, all while observing Indigenous ceremony and tradition.
I'm Bear Clan. I'm an Anishinaabe Métis from Treaty 4 territory.
Bourassa told the crowd she grew up in Regina's inner city, where she and her family suffered the effects of racism.
We grew up in a really poor, disrupted family, and that was due to intergenerational trauma, and that caused addictions and violence.
Carolyn Tate is also a professor at the U of S. The Métis woman says she's worked with Bourassa for more than a decade and always believed she was Indigenous. But she says recently, some inconsistencies and changes in Bourassa's story led her and her colleagues to investigate Bourassa's genealogy. And they concluded Bourassa was not Indigenous at all.
It's embarrassing to think that we were so gullible and naive.
Bourassa claims that her great-grandmother came from a small Indigenous tribe in northern BC.
My great-grandmother was Tlingit. She married an immigrant.
But CBC News discovered the genealogical records tell a different story. Bourassa's great-grandmother was Johanna Salaba, who immigrated from Russia to Canada in 1911 with her mother and sister. She married Joseph Knizichek, who was also a Czech-speaking Russian. Dr. Winona Wheeler, a member of Manitoba's Fisher River Cree Nation, who also is a professor at the U of S, finds Bourassa's claims infuriating.
It is colonialism in its worst form, and it's a gross form of white privilege.
In a statement released after CBC's story published, Bourassa reiterated that she does identify as Métis, and she's hired a Métis genealogist to help her investigate her ancestry. She says the communities that she serves do not rely on, quote, blood quantum in order to assess who is truly Indigenous.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, this is really crazy, but nothing new. Elephant in the room for me, this has become a pattern, okay? Just straight up and down, it's become a pattern. We've seen it. We've seen it with Elizabeth Warren, a.k.a. Pocahontas. We've seen it with the lady named Jessica Krug. She was kind of convincing a little bit. I'm like, okay, she might be a little bit light-skinned, might be black, but 100% white. The infamous one, Rachel Dolezal, we've seen her. She had a whole Netflix special and stuff like that. Now she's braiding hair. I'm not sure where she's at. Still on the left coast in a like 2.5% black area, Spokane, Washington, but I digress. And one of the most prolific race hoaxers is Shaun King. He's still out there doing his thing. He's still getting money. He's still getting speaking engagements. I'm not sure how. From the very beginning, I knew that he was white as snow. Even when I was on the left, I would see him on the internet and whatnot. I'm like, okay, you got a white ally. That's great. That's good. Even when I was on his side, I knew he was white. So then as the years went along, I'm like, y'all think he's black for real? This guy, you think he's black? White as snow. If he was to do a DNA test like Carrie Barassa did, it'd probably come back 100% Irish. It's like, sir, you are Conor McGregor's cousin, first cousin, same. Your dad is his dad's brother, basically. But I digress. Carrie Barassa pretending to be Native and then being fired for being white. So the question is, would she have had those jobs if she was just a regular white person? Can you be a white person and an expert on Native issues? Apparently she was, because she had the job and she was doing the job. She had a PhD, had several government roles. So how do you get to a certain place in the government? How do you become an expert? How do you do TED Talks and all these things without actually having any kind of knowledge, without really knowing your subject matter? So apparently she was immersed in it and she was doing a good job. But the problem is the lying. You see, why not just be a white person? You know, be a white person and say that. Why you gotta do so much other stuff? Is it because there's racism involved? Not racism against natives, but anti-white racism. Maybe being white ain't enough. If you put white down on your application to become a native expert or to even get into college, are you going to be accepted? We see what's happening right now with Yale and Harvard and whatnot, where they're being anti-Asian. Oh, it's too many Asians in here. They're being anti-white as well because they want to have more blacks and Hispanics. So at a certain point, is it actual structural racism to try and quote unquote help the natives and help the non-whites that is punitive against actual white people? That's what it appears to be. And people like this internalize it and be like, you know what? I'm going to just lie to get ahead. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying there's an excuse for being a liar. Okay. If you can't get ahead, lying ain't the way to go. Figure something else out rather than pretending to be a native person talking about, yeah, my name is Morningstar Bear and I got on my outfit, all this, that, and the third. Do something else. Move somewhere else. At the same time, if there's anything against whites, that shouldn't be there either. If you really want to be anti-racist in a serious way and not in an Ibram X. Kendi, aka Henry Rogers way, then you don't have racism at all on either side. You can't have racism that benefits one side and does not benefit the other because you think it's just and it's fair. How about no racism? How about that? Judge everyone based upon what they bring to the table, what the facts and the figures are. That should be the way it is. And you know what? I think this person has been exposed. I'm not really sure why or how the whole thing came about. Was it a spontaneous DNA test? I'm not really sure. But I feel like there are more people out there just like this. I saw the lady on that clip right there saying she was native. I'm like, it looks kind of fishy to me. You know, I've seen some natives. I've seen them, you know, the flat faces and the reddish skin. I've seen actual natives in real life, like walking, talking, and breathing. Not just Guatemalans, Mexicans, but real Native Americans. I've seen them in real life. Now, some people that claim to be native, you look like a regular white person to me. I'm sorry. You might have long hair or whatever, but you look white. You know, you might have 10% native, but is that a native person? I'm not really sure because I probably got 10% white in me. I mean, am I white or am I not white? This racial stuff, it kind of gets weird and ridiculous at a certain point. People want to claim to be this race. They want to claim to be that race. It's almost like this whole thing about claiming your gender to a certain extent. Now with gender, it's a lot more cut and dry. XX or XY, okay? If you don't have this set of chromosomes, that means you're not that. You know, it matches. This is really simple. XX female, XY male. That's it. But when it comes to race, it's a lot more fluid, I guess you would say. You see me, you're going to say, okay, you black. You hear my voice, you see my face, you see my skin color, you know I'm black, right? What if I said I have more native in me than, what if I said I had more white in me than a lot of so-called natives have native in them? What if I said that? Am I white? And if I'm not white, are they native? I don't know. It gets kind of weird. And I think the focus on race and everything being about race makes the whole thing just strange to the point where you're able to get fired for being white because you lied about not being white. It's just really weird. But I think there's an incentive to behave as a different thing other than what you are, right? Regular white guy, you're not getting much attention. You're pretty much just like scum of the earth. But if you can identify as LGBT, then you get an extra point. If you can identify as LGBT and trans, you get more points. If you are not succeeding well in your sport of choice as a male, well, just become trans and dominate the women. Like the swimmer I saw recently. That's all a different video right there, so I digress. The swimmer I saw, the weightlifter, some of these basketball players, you looking like LeBron James talking about, yeah, I'm a woman now, and go dominate and crush the women. See, the door for these things is open. It's incentivized, and people take the opportunity. If we removed the incentives, if we closed the door, then maybe there wouldn't be so many frauds out there like what we see. Morningstar Bear, people like that. Maybe they wouldn't exist if there was no incentive for them to go out there and lie and fraud like that. But as I close, I want to say this. I guess it was convincing for a while. She had to look down, the eyebrows and everything, but it just ultimately was found out you're just a regular white person, and it's okay. It's okay to be white. It's okay to be black. It's okay to be whatever you actually are, right? But I don't think your race should be the foundation of your identity, especially when you don't even know what your race is, okay? I got mixed race family members, and it's like, all right, so what am I? Am I black? Am I white? Am I both? Like, just be you. Whatever you are inside, however you like identify, like whatever you are, your personality, how you behave toward yourself and toward people, that's who you are. Race and all that kind of stuff, okay, you could talk about your race, but how important is that really? You know, is it so important to where you live your life pretending to be a particular way just to get ahead in life, just to get some attention, just to get money? Is it worth it? Or is it better just to be yourself and to identify like that? I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about this lady, Carrie Barassa, pretending to be Native for, I guess, money, for attention, or whatever the case may be? Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I stand. I say it's okay to be whatever you are. Stop trying to be something else. You know you're a white person. You know your grandma and them or is named Elizabeth Borshevsky and came straight from Kiev, Ukraine, or Warsaw, Poland. Stop the cap, as the cool kids say. Just be that. If you're Polish, just say that. If you black, just say that. Whatever you are, just say that. If you're different things or you don't know, then so what? You still have an identity as a human being. Rely on that. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.